Lesson 4.6 is division and the distributive property. This is kind of that same skill we did when we were pulling numbers expanded form of our numbers when we were learning how to multiply using the standard algorithm for it. And now we're going to use that same build-up to look at the normal division algorithm that you'll be really used to in a couple of years, or by the end of the year you'll be used to it, and it will build on at 5th and 6th grade and on and on. But let's start by understanding what's happening, and the distributive property, pulling things apart and putting them back together again, is going to help us understand what's going on. So let's have a look. All right, so we start off with the model. We can use the distributive property to break apart numbers to make them easier to divide. The distributive property of division says that dividing a sum by a number is the same as dividing each addend by the number and then adding the quotients. That in word form is kind of confusing, but you kind of did the same thing with multiplication where you pulled it apart, you multiplied the number that we were multiplying by both of those parts, and then we added those back together again. You'll see it all happen as we go. We're going to outline a rectangle on a grid to model 69 divided by 3. So they want us to shade columns of 3 until you have 69 squares total. Okay, so I have done that. I have a rectangle. There are columns of 3, and I went until there were 69 boxes in there, and that took me a little while. How many groups of 3 can you make? Well, when I count along this whole thing, I get 23. So I can make 23 groups of 3. Now, that could have been a little easier than counting up every single one of these. If we think of 69 as 60 plus 9, 60 plus 9 is 69, then we can break apart the model into 2 rectangles to show 60 plus 9 divided by 3. So we have 60 plus 9 divided by 3. So there's my drawing of that there. I have 60 here, and then 9 more, and they're being divided into 3 equal pieces. So each rectangle models a division. 69 divided by 3 is the same as saying 60 divided into 3 equal pieces, and then 9 divided into 3 equal pieces. So now I'm doing 60 divided by 3. That gave me 20 rows in there, 20 in the row, I should say. And 9 divided into 3 equal parts gives us 3 boxes. And when I put those together, I get 23. So 69 divided by 3 is 23. Let's have another look here. We have outlined another model that shows 68 divided by 4. So I want 4 columns, or columns of 4, I should say, like that. There's 4 in that column. And in that rectangle, I want 68. And I did this a little bit differently than they showed here, that they walked you through here, but I'm going to walk you through my thought process here, because in my head, as I'm trying to do this, like I don't feel like counting in all of them. So you notice I split it into 3 pieces. And I know that 4 times 10 is 40. I'm trying to get to 68 total. But I don't have my numbers, my multiplication memorized past my tens. So I did 10 columns of 4, and I knew that was going to give me 40. And I knew that was a 4 times 10 scenario. I hope that made sense. And so I thought, okay, now I'm at 40, and 68 minus 40 is 28. I need 28 more. I do know that 7 times 4 equals 28, so I could have gone that route. My brain just said, now just let me get 20 more. That's going to be 5, so I had the 20 here. And I know that 5 times 4 is 20. And that when I got there, I said, oh, that's 40 plus 20, that's 60. And I just need 8 more. So I put 8 more. And so 8 times, to get 8 here, I would do 4 times 2. And so as I pieced it apart, the division, how it was divided up, was done for me. So I split it apart. 40 plus 20 plus 8 gave me 68. And that meant that 4 times 10 gives me 40, 4 times 5 gives me 20, and 4 times 2 gives me 8. So the quotient, it would be 10 plus 5 plus 2, 15, 16, 17. I was able to make 17. So I had split it up 3 ways and then put it back together again. Here they split it up differently. They said think of 68 as 40 plus 28. Okay, kind of the same, I guess. I just pieced this part apart instead. So 40 plus 28, bringing it down, like we said, to a number that we know we can multiply with. 40 plus 28 is still 68. So we're using those numbers to our advantage that we know in our heads already. Then we would do 40 divided by 4, which was 10. And then we would do 28 divided by 7, also known as 4 times what number gives me 28? Well, 4 times 7 gets me 28. And then we add those together again and get 17. Notice either way I took it, I was able to get it down to the same quotient. So 68 divided by 4 is 17. All right, so let's try one together and see how we do. With a little bit of practice, it starts to fall together. And it's a lot of the same skills you've been using. We're going to do 26 divided by 2. I'm going to split this 26, expand it out, right, in an expanded form, and I'm going to go ahead and do 20 plus 6. So that seems like the easiest way for this particular problem. 20 plus 6 gives me 26. And now that I've split 20 plus 6 out, I will divide 20 by 2, and I will also divide, because I got to share it, distributive property means I've got to share it, the 6 divided by 2. And those are calculations I can do. 20 divided by 2, remember it's 2 times what number gives me 20. In the division is the inverse of multiplication, or how many times would I count by 2 in order to reach 20? Well, 20 divided by 2 is 10. 6 divided by 2, what number multiplied by 2 gives me 6? 3 does. And then I put it back together again. I took it apart to make it easy. Now I put it back together again like Humpty Dumpty. 10 plus 3 is 13. So 26 divided by 2 is 13. Here's what we did visually. We said, okay, we're going to have rows or columns of 2. So there's 1, 2. I need 26 of them. I'm going to start with 20 of them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And then I will do 6 more of them. 2, 4, 6. 2 is what's being divided in. There's 20 here, and there's 6 here. This gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns. And this one gave me 1, 2, 3 columns. So there's the visual representation of that answer. Let's see another example. I have 45 divided by 3. How am I going to split this up? I could do 40 plus 5. My problem is that I want something that I can very easily divide 3 into. And 45 would be higher than I need to. 30 divided by 3 would be easy because 3 times 10 is 30, right? So I think I'm going to pull 30 out of here. Use the numbers that help you, right? That's the whole point of doing this. So if I take 45 and subtract 30 from it, I'm going to get 15. So I'm going to put 30 here, and then I'm going to do 15 here. And 30 plus 15 gives me 45. I chose those numbers because they'll be easier to divide by 3. Now, 30 divided by 3, well, 3 times 10 is 30, so 30 divided by 3 is 10. And 15 divided by 3, 3 times 5 is 15, so 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then I put them back together again. I split them apart, and then I put them back together again, Humpty Dumpty. 10 plus 5 is 15. So you remember distributive property is all Humpty Dumpty. Breaks apart, puts it back together. Let's look at how that looks visually. I chose to do 30 boxes. So I need columns that have 3 in them. 1, 2, 3. And I want to get 30 boxes in there. So there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. That's 30 boxes. And that was 10 rows, right? Okay, and then I want 15 boxes covered in groups of 3. So we're doing 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 being divided into 3 equal pieces, and that gives us 5. So our answer, our quotient for 45 divided by 3 is 10 plus 5, which is 15. Now maybe this is feeling comfortable for you, but this you're still kind of like, oh, this I'm hazy on, but this makes sense. Well, if this is the part that makes sense to you best, that's good, because that's the part I would hope makes sense to you best. The pictures are helping your brain get there, but ultimately, this is the part you want your brain to know. And you want to get your brain trained into, like, I can be the master of these numbers and make them the ones I need them to be so they work. Let's practice a few more. Okay, on this one, it's 86 divided by 2. And I could do a bunch of groups of 20, 20, 20, 20. I'll show you that too. Maybe you take that route and it will work just fine. But I know that when you divide by 2, you're cutting things in half. And so I could probably do a bigger number pretty easily. I'm going to split this into 80 plus 6 in this case. And you'll see why. So I've got 80 plus 6 gives me 86. 80 divided by 2 really just means take 80 and cut it in half. Anytime you divide by 2, you're cutting something in half. It's being shared amongst 2 people. So if I have $80 and I need to share it with 2 people, I need to share it with myself and one other person, a total of 2 people, each of us are getting $40. And that's something I knew I already had in my head. That's why I chose those numbers. And then 6 divided by 2, well, 2 times what number gives me 6? 3 does. So my answer is 43. But let's say your brain didn't go there and you're like, well, I know 2 times 10 is 20, and I'm going to just keep doing that until I get to 80. So you're saying, okay, I'm going to go 20 plus 20, that's 40, plus 20, that's 60, plus 20, that's 80, and then plus 6, 20, 40, 60, 86. And then you said, okay, now I'm going to divide all of those by 2. And then I was left with this 6 divided by 2, 20, 40, 60, 86, 86. And all of those pieces needed to be divided by 2. Okay, well, the reason I chose to split it that way, maybe it didn't stand out to me this way, so that's okay. If you split it up that much, as long as you put it back together again, it's okay. 20 divided by 2 is 10. That's why I did it that way. Plus 20 divided by 2 is 10, plus 20 divided by 2 is 10, plus 20 divided by 2 is 10. And then I add that to 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Now I have 10 plus 10, which is 20, plus 10, which is 30, plus 10, which is 40, plus 3, 43. However you pull it apart, as long as you put it back together again, you'll still get the same answer. Okay, one more practice one, and oh no, this one's a doozy. This is going to be a tough one, I think, but hold that thought. That's 208. It's being divided into 4 equal pieces. Well, I'm kind of an expert in 100s being divided into 4 equal pieces because our money system does that, right? 100 cents, which is $1, split into 4 equal pieces is 25 cents. It's quarters, right? So, okay, let me use that to my advantage. I feel comfortable with that. I know that 100 pennies divided up equally into 4 equal pieces is 25 cents money, right? So I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm taking this 208 and I'm going to take 100 off there. That gives me 108 left. So that's another 100 off there. Clearly the book planned for me to split that differently, but no problem, right? We'll just we're pulling it apart differently, and that's okay. I have 100, 200. I need the rest of that, the 8. That will also be divided by 4 because all of it has to be divided by 4. All the pieces I pulled apart, we have to do the same thing to it. 100 divided by 4, I know is 25 because I know money. $1, 100 cents, split into 4 equal pieces is 25 cents. Do that again. And then I need to add this on because they split it differently. They thought I was going to split it differently than I did. No problem. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And now I just have to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. 25 plus 25, well, 2 quarters, 50 cents, right? So 50 plus 2 more is 52. So 208 divided by 4 is 52. So they're introducing the distributive property to you because you will use that skill and the algorithm that we will do for division, but they're wanting you to see like, I'm pulling these pieces apart and I'll put them back together again and it will all work out. Everything will be okay. I hope that made sense to you. It is something that takes some practice, but I think you'll do really well at it. Go ahead and give that a try on Think Central, or if you need more practice with me, we can practice a few more.